Hey everyone, welcome back to Practical Therapy. I just want to apologize for coming on so late. I definitely had multiple intentions of coming on earlier today, but the J just slipped away from me 9 to 5, client after client, meeting after meeting. Did not get the chance to come on sooner. And then when I got home at 5 tonight, found out my 2-year-old little girl had 103 temperature, so I had to do that mama thing. And so it just got really late. I was like this close to not even coming on, but then I really care about this content, and I've been thinking about it. It's been on my heart and mind a lot, and I know that tomorrow's going to be kind of crazy for me, and I just didn't want to keep pushing it off. So I am still going to come on and talk about unmet needs, but bear with me. If I'm a little scatterbrained, I hope that I'm not, but bear with me if I am. So we are going to today be talking about unmet needs, which goes under the topic of parenting. Unmet needs is kind of, it's a technique that I feel like is really good for a couple things. One, for that parent-child bond. You're really connecting with the child's emotions and their needs, and you're helping them discover them, identify them, and then advocate and communicate for themselves about them. So that's one really good reason to use the technique of looking for unmet needs. But another reason is I think it balances out consequences really well. With that being said, I'm going to be talking about unmet needs in this video and not necessarily consequences. That does not mean that I do not think that there is definitely a place for discipline and consequences in healthy parenting. But I feel like we talk in parenting a lot about discipline and consequences, and we don't talk enough about looking for unmet needs. So that's why I'm going to be talking about this today. So I kind of came up with this technique of looking for unmet needs for parents based off of the theory that all behavior is purposeful. We talk about that a lot in kind of the counseling field is, why do you do what you do? Adults talk about it a lot, and I think that we forget that kids also have reasons and motives and emotions behind their behaviors as well. But unlike adults, they're not able to advocate for themselves or even identify what those motives and reasons are. So as parents and adults, it's our job to help kids learn how to do that. This starts as early as, 1.5, when you're saying, are you sleepy, Johnny? Or, you're starting to, are you feeling sad? Are you feeling scared? A kid throws a tantrum on the ground because their juice is empty and they want more juice and they can't have any more juice. Picking them up off the ground and saying, I know that you're sad. You're feeling really sad that you can't have more juice, helping them identify that versus, spanking them or putting them in the corner for crying for that. Because I think that a lot of the times when kids are acting out, they're trying to communicate something. Tantrums are part of kids trying to communicate, not saying that a tantrum cannot get to the point that a child needs to be in a timeout, but a lot of times we need to stop and think, what are they trying to communicate to me, and how can I help hear them, validate them, reflect them, and help them feel known and understood to calm them down, rather than just placing them in the corner to calm them down. So I do also want to say that these actions, these negative behaviors and these negative actions that they're doing, the reason behind them is not always healthy, and it's not always appropriate. But again, that's your job as the adult to identify, is this, are they seeking negative attention? Are they bored? Are they angry? It's your job to decide whether what they're doing is just mischievous. Like, for example, when I tell my daughter not to take something that, like, don't put something into the electrical outlet, right? And I say, don't do that. And then she looks at me and she smiles and she tries to poke something in it. Obviously, that's not, that unmet need is she's trying to figure out her world. And she's trying to make sense of it. Kind of like, this might sound a little weird, but kind of like when someone's sick, like say someone has the flu and they're just not on top of it, you give them a little more grace, right? In many ways, sometimes I say to my parents that I work with that our kids are sick in the head because their brains are still developing. They're not fully developed yet. They don't understand how the world works. They don't understand how they're feeling. They don't understand what's going on. And so our job is to help them get healthy in the head. Our job is to help them have holistic thinking and understanding to be able to understand the way that they should respond and react. So let's get to it. The technique of looking for unmet needs. What it is say your child misbehaves. This technique is all about making your first response to be, okay, what could be going on to make my child behave this way? Could there have been something that happened at school? Or maybe you just walked in the door, right? And for home from work, and you have two kids that are fighting, and you just want to be like, go to your room, right? But you don't really necessarily know what is going on, what's the underlying emotion, what's happening. And so your job while learning this technique as a parent is to learn to not first jump to the consequence. Don't first jump to, okay, how should I discipline this negative behavior? Your first question should be, okay, what could be causing this negative behavior? So let's give an example. Say Sarah comes home from school, she's like 9, and the routine is you get home from school, you have a snack, you have like 30 minutes of chill time, and then you got to do some chores. And Sarah she ate her snack, she didn't say much, she said, how was school? She's like, fine. And then she kind of veggies and watches Bill Nye the Science Guy or whatever on TV, and then it's time for her to clean her room and vacuum. She's like, no, don't want to do it. Yes, very likely this is just a naughty kid acting out is what most people would say. And I'm not going to say that that's not the case. But what I think very likely could be the case is something else might be going on. So instead of being like, Sarah, vacuum right now, and then you walk away, and then you come back 2 minutes later, and she hasn't vacuumed, and you're like, this is your last warning. If you do not get that done in the next 10 minutes, you're grounded. And Sarah, dilly-dallies, does whatever, and doesn't do her vacuuming. You're going to come back in and you'll be like, you're grounded. You cannot go to your friend's house for the weekend. That's how this normally looks. And I understand the whole idea of respect, like kids need to listen to their parents and need to do what they say. But while I think there's definitely time and place for that, I also think parents need to make sure that they are meeting the needs or helping their child learn how to understand what's going on inside of them and to communicate that. So a good way to do that is maybe the first time be like, hey, Sarah, it's time to do your chores. Please get on that right now. And then she's not doing it, and you stop and think, you're like, okay, she's been really quiet. She ate her snack really quiet. She didn't talk about school. Let me just sit down with her for a second. So take her into her room, sit her on her bed, and be like, Sarah, I need you to do your chores. You're normally good at doing your chores, so try and stay positive. You're normally good at doing your chores. You're not doing them today. What's going on? Like, what's going on? Is there something that's upsetting you? How is school? What's going on with your friends or whatever? And in many cases, like with some kiddos, they'll be like, you know what? School was so boring today. Like, it was so boring. And I wasn't trying to talk, but I just kept talking and I kept getting in trouble. And then I had to eat lunch in, the corner. I don't know if they do that, but whatever. Anyways, the point is get to figure out what's going on inside of Sarah. Now, this might take some time for your child to realize that you're a safe place. Like if you haven't been doing this a lot, it might take a bit of time for them to realize that you're a safe place. But eventually, hopefully, the relationship will grow to where they know I can talk about what's going on, and my mom or my dad or my aunt, my uncle, the guardian, the adults in my life will create a safe place for me to talk, and they will encourage me to do what's right rather than, command and bark at me. So try and create that space for them to be able to open up and talk about what might be going on. In my line of work, honestly, most of the time when a kid acts out in a way that they don't normally act out, there's something going on. Okay, so I'm not talking about the kid that's violent every single day and he's got ODD and we got to deal with that. That's a different avenue. But say you see your child acting out in a way that they don't normally act out in, stop and think, this is not my kid, this is not normal. Let me see if I can find out what is going on inside. What's that unmet need? Were they feeling rejected at school? Or are they feeling overwhelmed or stressed out by a test? Or are they sick? Or did they not sleep well? Were they made fun of at school? So many things could go on. Did they have a bad time at grandma and grandpa's or at daycare? Or were they just around a really uncomfortable situation? Or did their schedule that they had for the day get changed? Or was there an expectation that they had that got taken away and it got lost? There are so many factors that go on in the day in kids' lives that they don't know how to adjust to all that constant change and that unexpected and those new emotions that they're dealing with, that they need adults to help them discover those and identify those, and then be able to use their words to process that stuff and communicate what's going on inside. So this is just a good way to make sure that we're not shooting down consequences all the time, but that we're making sure that our kid's not just acting out, but that we're doing our job to make sure we know what's going on inside of our child. This, it's going to look really different depending on the age of your child, but you definitely can start it around the age of 1.5 years, and then you will probably be doing it forever. Because even there's times that I am not on my best behavior and my husband's like, hey, what's going on? So I think we all can use this. This is not something that, we grow out of, where we all of a sudden one day perfectly always know why we do what we do and what mood that we're doing and how our moods are dictating our behaviors. And we're not always great at knowing what's going on inside and how to communicate that appropriately to other people and not act negatively on those unmet needs inside of us. So anyways, that's pretty much my spiel for today. If you have any questions about this, you can totally put them in the comments, or you can message me about them. I've been getting some fun questions, text messages and comments and Facebook messages and emails. I love the follow-up questions, so keep them coming. And I just hope that this content was helpful and insightful for you guys. And let's see, I'm thinking the next time I come on, I actually was thinking about bringing my husband on, and we can do something together. So keep your little notifications coming on, and stay tuned. All right, thanks so much, guys. Have a good night. Bye-bye.